I had good expectations for Teri Baaton mein Aisa Uljha Jiya movie. As you may have heard in my trailer analysis and as mentioned there, I had two questions going into the movie. One question was Shahid's character in some kind of breakup or a diverse situation for Dimple Kapadia's character to introduce Sifra to him? And the other was that the trailer showed us Shahid's role in continuing to be in love with Sifra despite knowing that she's a robot. But what is Sifra's view in this whole relationship? That was a question mark. If you want to check Popcorn Passion's review of the trailer, please find the link here and also in the description. I've been grappling for words to describe my feeling about this movie. I have to say that I had a decent experience with lighthearted fun, but didn't have the feeling of being whole. Let's say I felt incomplete. This movie could have been so much more. Better writing could have helped the movie by a mile. I have to say though that the film passes through as a breezer. Shahid's Aryan role and his family with Dharmendra ji as the head of that family is such a cool combined family who live together under one roof. It was such a refreshing sight in this day and age of nuclear families. All the relationships within the family have a strong bond with each other, and sometimes by having fun at the cost of each other, creating good jovial environment. I'll have to say I just loved Dharampaji's role in the movie, and it's just that he also gave a semblance of that emotional tether for all of the family in this movie. I also loved the music and the dance in the movie. It makes you groove and tap your foot. Now to the two questions I had. For the first, Shahid's Aryan role himself is a robotic engineer, and the narrative clearly established his talent and the skill in this domain. His aunt, mother's sister, Dimple Kapadia, owns the company that he is also working for. As assumed, it is she that who introduced Sifra to Aryan. Without realizing that she is a robot, despite being a robotic engineer, he falls for her pretty soon, and even after realizing that she's a robot, he's still in love with her. This is one of the weakest parts of the movie because we can't really understand why Aryan is in such deep love with Sifra, beyond obviously the stunning beauty of Kriti Sanon. Because except for a very brief moment where we get to know that Aryan is looking for true love, where the likes and dislikes match, and of course his family's pressure asking him to get married, we won't really see him as someone who's desperate or longing for love. It would have been nice if he had a prior relationship or relationships, at least as a backstory, and him falling so fast and deep for Sifra might have been more convincing, even though it may have been cliched. The writing of this movie only sees for convenience rather than having a strong emotion. The second question, as shown in the trailer, initially Sifra highlights that she is like Aladdin's genie granting wishes, and then when Aryan proposes marriage, she'll ask if that is allowed or possible, and then she'll once ask if it's wrong to be a robot. I assume that the movie would have more such conversations between Aryan and Sifra, but there was none. If you see Enter in a Robo, there is clear articulation of initially Chitty lacking emotional quotient and also the human perception for what is appropriate public behavior. When he saves the woman in her bath from a fire and then brings her naked in front of the public, that she commits suicide in shame, triggering Chitty to be upgraded with human emotions. Also, we always knew Chitty's capabilities in and out. The narrative clearly explains the evolution of Chitty, but here in this movie, despite knowing Sifra is a robot, we really don't know much about Sifra. What is her level of self-learning and what are her capabilities beyond reminders and stuff? The makers tried to make Sifra almost like a dumb robot to create comedy of errors with the family. The narrative depends upon it. I'm not saying it was not fun. It was a decent ride. But it could have been much more intelligent and given a much better experience. They settle for the easiest and the laziest writing. I don't think what I'm about to say is a spoiler because it was so evident in the trailer itself. This is just a one-sided love story where the robo is coerced to fall in love simply by her programming and not like how we saw with Chitty. A love story or a rom-com has to be a two-way street to thoroughly entertain us. Shahid was very decent in his portrayal. And as I had mentioned, except for that unconvincing nature of the reason for him to be hooked so deeply for Sifra, which is a narrative problem, but he did honestly try to make it up with his acting. And for most part, he did well. His comedy timing was very well in the movie, and overall his dancing footwork was just amazing. Kriti Sanon again showed her acting range. Just as Shahid's Aryan and pretty much every other character in the movie is glued to Sifra, our eyes are also glued to Kriti's stunning screen presence. She played her character to perfection. Her expressions had varied level of smiles along with that amazing curiosity always showing in her face. As you can see that she's trying to constantly learn, but alas, not evolving as I was just saying. Sifra didn't necessarily have an arc or evolution, but she did great in the climax, which discusses a more philosophical message about integrating robots in our regular life today. I want to reiterate again though, the movie is certainly fun but lacking emotional impact and the incompleteness for the two reasons I just discussed. Like almost every other film these days, they have left you with a little surprise about the two-way love that I just spoke and planting a seed for continuation of the story in the next part. I've shared my view and experience. I leave it to your decision whether to watch the movie or not. If you like the review, show your love by liking the video. Spread the love by sharing it with your friends, family, and bless us by subscribing to the channel so that we can keep meeting often. Thank you.